Welcome to What Are You Sporting About podcast, a podcast about business, employment, sports, and entertainment to help educate, support, and guide you to your next level. Here's your host, attorney Savania de Barros.
Hey, it's Savania de Barros, protector of athletes. And today I have the amazing Megan Perry, who, just beast mode in the sports industry with us today. Hi, Megan.
Hello. And that's such a kind way to introduce me. Beast mode, I'll take that. I will certainly welcome that energy.
Yes. I love it. I love everything that you've been doing, and your track record, first off, it's definitely inspiring, because you and I talked before and we're both just former college athletes, right? Mm-hmm, but you have made a super dash into the sports world in ways that a lot of people can only imagine. So I want to start off with how you got started to where you are now. So let's just kind of start off with what you would consider being your beginning stages of being a Black woman in sports.
Yeah, it's you guys buckle up, get ready. Because it's been a journey. But I'll start by saying sports has really been that common thread in my journey. It has motivated me, inspired me my entire life. And so I think it really began with my intention. I was dead set on, back in the day in high school, I was dead set on playing college basketball. I always was fueled by my desire to play at the highest level possible and go to the best school possible, get the best education. And that landed me with an opportunity to play. I played 4 years at Cornell University. Shout out to anyone that knows anything about upstate New York in Ithaca, because it is cold, but a great experience there. Had an opportunity to win a Ivy League championship, and then went on to compete in the NCAA tournament. This is way back in 2008. But I share that because my sports journey really got started there. It was literally the summer after I graduated that I had an opportunity to go straight into working in professional athletics at the cream of the crop, if I call it, straight to the top, working for the NBA league office. So right out of college, you have this, really fresh, young, bright, aspirational girl that's like, I wanted to all my life, I wanted to be a general manager for a WNBA team. And my first 3 years at the league office was spent supporting the WNBA President's office in the capacity of doing consulting for all of the team's marketing, ticket sales, and sponsorship departments. So I was focused on driving team business for the first 3 years, learning the foundations of what does it take to run a professional sports franchise. And the NBA knows what they're doing in that space. So being able to learn that early was amazing. And I then kind of transitioned over to the basketball side of the business, I like to call it. I've always, like I said, loved the game, and I missed the game of basketball. So I had the opportunity to then transition to a department called basketball operations and player relations. And I actually had the tremendous pleasure of working under a really rare sight these days, but it was 2 Black women.
Wow.
Every day sitting in, to my left was the president and to my right was the vice president of the league. The founder, I'm not going to say the founder, one of the women that helped found the WNBA from day one, Renee Brown, my mentor, and a woman I learned so much for working there. She was responsible for helping the first 3 players sign a WNBA contract and get the league going. So I learned so much from her. About league operations. I worked in player relations, so that's a really long term for really helping support all the on-court and off-court activities of the players. So that's appearances with marketing partners and sponsors. That's helping them navigate, their aspirations off the court and after basketball for current and former players. So effectively, I learned how to be a mom to 144 women, pretty much. World-class
That's
athletes.
amazing.
6 years and loved it. And also, I don't want to fail to mention, had the opportunity to travel as well, doing some scouting and talent evaluation in preparation for WNBA draft. I led that charge, figuring out who are the top 15 players in the country, who are we inviting, and how are we going to onboard them and welcome them into our working orientation and make them a part of the WNBA family. So
now you just like literally gave us a mouthful. Yeah. Okay.
I know. I'm going to slow down. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. So the journey has been amazing. All right. So for a young woman, we're gonna take yours to the female aspect here to bring in some diversity. So for some of these young women who are possibly in college and thinking long term for what they want their career to look like sports wise, or for the athlete who's played professionally and want to stay in sports, work in that rim in some kind of way. I mean, this kind of can be an issue where it seems intimidating. So how did you balance being basically a newbie to sports administration, starting off with the NBA, to really take grasp of everything that you were, that was coming at you, so you can truly allow that information to become a part of you, so that you can keep riding the ranks and learning as you go, and really building a platform to where you are now?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Listen, it was sweaty. When I say it was sweaty, I literally mean like it was hard. There's a grind to this. So anyone that works in sports and entertainment understands that it's not all glitz and glamour. Like, it is fun. It's great to build relationships. However, there was a lot of long days, long nights. And I would say for anyone that's interested in getting into the sports space, one of the things that I did very early on is I made it a point to say yes to everything. So, Megan, would you like to be a part of this? Yes. Hey, Megan, do you know anything about how to? Maybe the real answer is no, but I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to figure it out.
Figure it out later.
I think, yeah, I know, absolutely. I mean, but I think it's so critical to put yourself out there, right? To be the one that's not just responding to someone saying, do you want to be a part, but also to go and to ask questions like, hey, so-and-so, have you thought about this? Like, make sure you open your mouth and that you are getting people to get to know you as a person, but then two, through that, they get to know the work, your work ethic and what you can bring to the table. So I was just very, very conscious of making sure that I opened myself up to as many new experiences as possible. And sometimes that meant doing things like this, getting to work, maybe I'm walking in the office at 8:30 and I'm not getting home until sometimes midnight or 1 a.m. because I worked from 8 to 5. And then from 7 into 10:30, I volunteered my time to help another department with the NBA draft. Or some other event. Like, making myself known to other people in other departments helps facilitate a network. So I would say get involved, like, go and do.
Yeah. And just taking all of that into consideration, you make yourself an asset to the team, because then they know that they can depend on you. Okay. When something comes up, give it to Megan. And you just never know the next assignment that comes to you. It may be completely up your alley, but because you've made yourself available to them and an asset to the team, it allows you to continue to grow. But you said something that reminds me of what one of my older aunts said to me a long time ago. When you said, say yes to everything, she reminded me that when people try to give you something, even if you don't like it, just take it anyway, because you never know what they have later. But because you were inviting and you did accept whatever that gift was, they may have something later that you absolutely love, and they will remember that, and they will still bring it to you and ask you if you want it first. So it kind of put me in that same mind frame of that conversation that took place many, many, many years ago.
Yeah, you know what? I love that. And can I just say, like, that is so true. And it also, what it does is it makes you an invaluable resource. So, like, working in the corporate space, it's tough. I mean, we see right now in the midst of COVID, there's furloughs, there's layoffs. And when corporations are forced to think about who they want to keep, right, and who they can possibly do without, you want to make yourself as invaluable to the team as possible. So if Megan knows everything and knows everyone, right, and the operation can't go on without her, she's going to stay on a little bit longer. Right. So I think it's important for that reason as well.
Yep. That is so true. That is so true. And while you're in that space, you have the opportunity to network your butt off and build relationships with people, regardless if you don't know what it is you want to do past that, it definitely will become a resource later to say, hey, I met you at, I don't know, the sales office. What do you think about getting a cup of coffee? So how did being a valuable resource to your teammates at every level, how has that helped you now in your business?
You know what, I have to tell you, I was, during my time there, when I was working with the NBA, I did not really tune into how immersed in this network I really was, right? And so, like, I know the value of networking. Like, I understood that on a basic level, but I don't think I was as intentional about it as I probably should have been, now that I'm kind of outside that circle, and I've left the NBA. But I'll tell you, what I did do was not really just networking, but I always make it a point to remember what my mom told me is people remember more about how you make them feel than exactly what you said. And so I make it a point, just part of my core values, to treat everyone as I want to be treated and to develop the relationships on that. So my interactions with everyone were genuine. And I wanted to help. I wanted to be a part. I wanted to know them. I wanted to build those organic relationships. And that has helped me now, because outside of that space, I'm still able to go and ask, person so-and-so. I can say, like, hey, I'm working on something. Can you do me this favor? Or do you know anything about that? Would you help me out with this? Like, it's easier and it's more comfortable to open the conversation. And then to have someone vouch for you, right? Because in the world of sports and entertainment, just like everything else, a lot of it is relationship building, right? So if you don't have someone to speak to the quality of your work, or to say, really to co-sign you, right, to put you on, you can be lost. You can kind of float. So it's really valuable just to organically develop really positive relationships from the ground up. Just be a good person, because that energy will come back to you. It will.
I agree. Now that reminds me of a post I saw today where it says, like, you'll never forget the people, and I hope I'm getting this right. You'll never forget the people who wouldn't help you, but you'll always appreciate the people who helped you before you even asked. I think, like, folks can see the diligence in you. They can see the passion in you. They can see the realness in you, that authentic self. And it's a lot to gain, from the power of going a step above networking. Like, you're really trying to build relationships that will outlast whatever position that you're in, And so when you move on later in your career and you're doing whatever it is that you choose to do, those relationships that you've cultivated while you were there, just by, like you said, being a good, genuine person, you're literally going to reap and harvest from those seeds that you've sown earlier on. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Megan.
Yeah, let's talk.
You are now in broadcasting. And I'm so proud. First off, I'm proud of you. And I don't know you on a more personal level, but I am seeing more African-American women in the sports broadcasting world than I've ever seen before. And it's amazing to me, because in the past, you turn on the TV and it was white males who were broadcasting, and maybe sometimes you'll see an African-American man broadcasting, but you guys you are showing up and showing out. That's all I know. Okay. So how did you get into broadcasting? How did you make that shift? And what are some hurdles that you've had to cross being an African-American broadcaster versus what you've seen your other coworkers or colleagues being able to avoid?
Sure. So I actually got the broadcasting bug pretty late into the game. A lot of people come into sports broadcasting through, like, having a undergraduate degree in journalism. And that wasn't the case for me. Like, I actually became interested during my time working at the league office, I did a lot of work in preparation for WNBA draft. So I was doing all the scouting and the talent evaluation. And towards I think it was like 3 or 4 days before draft day, maybe even a week. Every year, you're still with me, right? I think we might have lost connection.
I'm here.
Okay, you're here. Okay,
I'm sorry, I muted myself.
No, that's okay. I didn't hear feedback, so we're gonna restart that. So let me back up and say my path into broadcasting, it was not a direct one. I did not go to school. Did not come with a degree in journalism. I did not come to school with that. I majored in marketing, and so I had an interest in broadcasting because I did a lot of work behind the scenes in preparation for draft, and all of my notes on all the top prospects, that information was being taken and literally like get on a conference call with some ESPN executives and they'd be like, who are the top 15 players? What are their profiles? Like, we need this information. And I had to hand it over. But then on the other side of the camera, there are these other, like, I don't want to say just talking heads, but other personalities that are practically regurgitating that information on national television. And I went, okay, well, how do I get to that stage? Like, I just became really curious about it. And so I did what I recommend to a lot of people doing. I actually just went and volunteered my time. I went to do the work. I was like, how do you get a headset? I literally was Googling around some of my free time and wound up reaching out to the AD at a smaller Division I school in Brooklyn, not Brooklyn College, St. Francis College in downtown Brooklyn. Irma Garcia, I will never forget her. She was so kind. I reached out to her and said, this is my background. This is the work I do with the WNBA. Do you have anyone covering your women's college basketball games? And she was like, we do, but we would love to have you. I'm like, okay, great. So I literally went and put on a headset. I had no idea about how to look at a camera. I didn't know anything about rolling to breaks. I didn't know anything about anything. Okay. I just knew basketball. And so I put on the headset and started just talking about the game. Now, it was rough. It sounded like no one wanted to listen to that. I promise you, did not want to listen to that in the first 2 years that I did it. But it was about getting reps, right? It's about practice. And from there, I was able to connect with some old, I guess I'll call them some old connections with the Ivy League a couple of years down the road. It turned out when Princeton women's basketball was going on this crazy undefeated run and Obama was at their games and all this hype around their program, they were looking for someone to call their women's college basketball game. They're looking for an Ivy League graduate and someone that won an Ivy League championship. And I was like, I'm your girl.
Right.
I'm your girl. I know all about that. So I had my first opportunity to broadcast a nationally televised game on CBS Sports Network. I remember like it was yesterday on March 15th, 2015. I had my first game, but I'll tell you, I was still so green. I still didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I had enough confidence in my skill set and knowing that I know this game and that I want to share what I knew with the audience. And that was enough. And from there, it's just continued to grow. And I've continued to develop my relationship with CBS Sports and some other entities along the way to be able to stay connected to the game that I love. So that's where I am today.
There are some main things that I can pull out of that for our listeners, especially if you are a woman. I feel like a lot of women suffer from lack of confidence and suffer from finding their value points. And what I heard by that story is that, number one, you were confident in what it was that you were doing. You knew that the information that you were providing was, I don't even want to say good enough. It was so great that people were sharing your exact analytics on air, to the point it's like, why can't I can just do that. If they're going to share my information, I might as well just do it. But you also put yourself out there. You had the courage and the confidence to say, look, I'm the person for this job and I would love to be in that position. I think a lot of us can take some direction from that, regardless of what it is that you want to do, and know that if you're passionate about something and you're great at your craft, then just put your foot forward and call whoever you need to call, talk to whoever you need to talk to and say, look, this is what I do. And I'm ready to get out there and show you guys that I can do it. So that's amazing, Megan.
Well, I appreciate, I'll take that. I receive that. And I want people to know that it definitely wasn't like, oh, my first phone call, my first email, I got an opportunity. I mean, I sent at least 20 emails out to colleges, and St. Francis was one of the ones that was in my space. I could get to them in my free time, and there was a great opportunity there.
It's
but
perseverance, baby.
It totally is that. But also know that in the sports broadcasting space, I had to create a reel. I never created a reel before, and I sent that reel probably to about 50 people.
Yeah,
and I remember it being dead silent, for so long. But all it takes is one yes. It just takes one yes. So it's not just, yes, it's being confident, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there, because sometimes you have to create the opportunity where there isn't one. And I am more than happy to raise my hand and create.
Girl, I got to clap on that one, because it's the truth. Sometimes you do have to create your own opportunity, but you always have to go a step further than just doing the bare minimum. Everyone is not going to say yes to you. Everyone is not going to know who you are or want to know who you are, but you still have to have that sheer determination behind everything that you do. Now, that's if you're living within your purpose, it's easy to keep moving forward. And sometimes, having some folks say, I don't know if we want to really bring you on board or work with you, it could be a little daunting sometimes, but that purpose should always override that feeling in that moment, because you are working for a greater purpose. You are doing something for a greater good, and you're moving. It's a passion type work, assignment. So yeah, people are going to say no. So Megan, now that we have heard about your journey, there's another piece to add to the puzzle, because you are a mom now, and we know it's difficult being a mom in any type of profession, but talk to me about how it is to be a mom in sports.
Listen, I so appreciate just having the opportunity to talk about this. Being a mom in sports is like the ultimate sport, honestly. I'm a new mom. I have a 2-year-old boy, and it has really given me perspective and helped me reshape priorities into every woman that is out here working and grinding and raising kids. I just have a new respect for you. I salute you because it is truly a skill set and something that people don't really teach you that, right? You just kind of have to it's like baptism by fire.
Yes.
But I'm just
that's a great metaphor.
It is absolutely wild. And I'll tell you, I have the best little boy. We love him dearly, my husband and I, but it really has caused me to actually have to take a pause. And for the women that can keep it going, I'm like, kudos to you. How do you do it? My travel schedule and broadcasting, it is such a hustle to be able to figure out, all right, where are the open windows and times. Traveling is not just okay, here's my itinerary. This is where I'm going to be. I'm going to hop on a plane, flight, whatever, train, and be there, and then just come back when I feel like it. There's a whole prep session. Okay. There's a whole 2-day prep for not only myself, but the kid.
Figure out who's got the kid.
Yes. Yeah. You got to
him engaged.
You gotta have it together. So I'm I look at a lot of women that are especially in the broadcasting space, in the sport or in media, any kind of entertainment field where it's driven by the live experience. It is really, really hard to be able to juggle both. And I'll say even as well as, we're both former athletes. And so, from myself, I still try to value leading a pretty healthy and fit lifestyle. And I gotta tell you, after I had my first child, it took me a moment to get my physique back together. Okay. Right. So for all the women that are out here having babies, professional athletes, and that are literally turning around, doing whatever, I don't know what the plan is. You guys let me know, but whatever they are doing to get back, to snap back, and to not miss a beat, really to be even better. I mean, salute to you. I mean,
and you look amazing. So salute to you. You are definitely playing it down.
Listen, I'm trying to hold it together, but I'm just saying I have a new respect for those that are not just hopping on their Peloton or whatever, going for a walk and jogging for 30 minutes. These ladies are out here doing explosive, real work, and I just have to take my hats off to them, because I said,
I do too.
3 days after the baby, I was like, Yeah, like not me, girl. I can't do it. Not yet.
Exactly. No, it's so funny because I feel like we're in the same boat when it comes to our kids, because my child just turned 3 on the 17th of September. So, I know exactly what you're dealing with. And when they're in that very new toddler stage, they're very busy. You have to keep them mentally engaged in things. And then they also have this sense of, let me go and disrupt mommy when she's working. But, while she's not doing anything, I'll just go off on my own and play. They have that sense where they know as soon as you get busy, they're going to come in and disrupt. But it is definitely, like you said, it is a new profound skill.
It is
art form.
It totally is an art form. So I just say I have to salute the mothers and also just, growing up and being around sports in the game. I'm pleased to say that it's better now. But, I felt like early on when I was younger, you didn't see that many women in sports working at a high level with the family.
Kids.
Yeah. And I kind of understand some of the challenges and barriers that exist there. I get that now. But I think it's super important, not only for myself, but for other women to be able to see that, no, you can do it. You can do both, right? You can continue to work and operate at a high level and be engaged with your career and your profession and have a family too. And I think it's so important for other women to see that exists, so that in the moments where you're like trying to manage whatever the sport is at home with a toddler or whatever age your kid is, you know that you're not alone. You know that it's possible. So
you are definitely not alone, and you got this. Keep reminding yourself, ladies, that you got this, because you really do. Sometimes you just need to take a break, take a breather, pray a little bit, and get back on the grind.
Exactly. Keep going. No, keep going.
Yep. But Megan, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on to the podcast, to talk about your journey, talk about being a mother in sports, talk about how it feels to get your start into basically the front office or back office of sports as a former college athlete. I know that there are a lot of young women and men out there who are thinking about what their next steps are going to be, especially as we are all charting this uncharted territory of how our world would look in sports with COVID-19 and social unrest. There's so many things that are happening. So you have definitely given us a lot to think about. You are an inspiration to me and a lot of other women. And I'm just excited for you and excited about where your journey is going to further take you along your career path. So
I appreciate that. I thank you for the praise, and also know that everything you're doing. Oh, thank you. Everything you're doing to continue to elevate and share is so important. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Oh, before you go, where can people find and connect with you?
Perfect. Yeah, of course. On social, you can find me at Megan Hughes Perry. And I'll just leave it at that, honestly, because that's the easiest way to find me in the social space. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
And don't forget your podcast.
That's right. My goodness, there's so much to cover, but yes, for sure. We can also follow along at Megan Hughes Perry. You can find the Her Journey podcast, where we also highlight, boss women in the sports media and entertainment landscape. So check out the Her Journey podcast presented by Women of Color in Sports.
Yay. Thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Thanks for joining us this week on What Are You Sporting About podcast. Make sure to visit our website, prosportlawyer.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite platform is, so you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, What Are You Sporting About? Attorney Savania DeBarros is available for private consulting at sldebarros.com. And remember, we're here to educate, support, and guide you in your journey to success, because we're all sporting about something.